Just days before the start of the 2006 World Cup tournament, Italian national team captain Fabio Cannavaro and his teammate at Juventus, Frenchman David Trezeguet, traveled to Rome to bear witness to the allegations of illegal competition with use of threats and violence at Italian football agency GEA World. Goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon, the Juventus goalkeeper and one of Azzurri's best players in the tournament, was more seriously threatened, with charges of involvement in illegal betting on domestic games being levied against him. Trezeguet missed a crucial penalty as France lost the final, and a jubilant Cannavaro held the World Cup aloft for the world to behold. Back in 2004, two very different yet startling rumors started doing the rounds. One alleged that the Juventus players were susceptible to doping, while the other talked of illegal betting and corrupt referees. Naturally, a task force was set up, and the Italian police began investigating these claims. Though both rumors proved to be ungrounded, the investigating magistrates' wiretaps turned up something much bigger: the Calciopoli. In the spring of 2006, the Turin magistrates approached Italy's football authorities but swiftly realized that the governing bodies were themselves implicated. Then Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, president and owner of AC Milan, was not in favor of a public investigation, as his club was one of the big four in the line of fire. Hence, the magistrates turned to the press, and the Calciopoli became front-page news. Voluminous but inconclusive evidence from the wiretaps showed the then Juventus sporting director Luciano Moggi communicating in an exclusive manner with the referee designators of Serie A, attempting to influence results by picking certain referees he considered more favorable to Juventus or more likely to rule in favor of the old lady on a dubious call. The scandal painted a shady picture of a vast and shadowy network of untraceable phone cards, secret payoffs and Godfather-esque proposals no match official could refuse. It was further alleged that throughout the season, top players of rival clubs were shown a calculated number of yellow cards in a bid to ensure their suspension when their teams faced the record Italian champions. But the question remains, how was all this done? Who orchestrated the whole operation? Who was to gain from all this? The answer to all these questions is Luciano Moggi and his system termed as Moggiopoli. One of the first to be heard by the tribunal was Italy coach Marcello Lippi. On 19 May 2006, 3 weeks before the FIFA World Cup in Germany, Lippi appeared in front of magistrates to answer charges that his selection of players for Azzurri had been influenced by Moggi. It was alleged that Moggi had put pressure on Lippi to select fewer Juventus players for the national team so that the club can minimize injuries and fatigue ahead of the new season. Lippi did name 5 Juventus players for the World Cup, but they were all cleared of any wrongdoing. Conversations between Moggi and Italy's most famous sports commentator Fabio Baldassarri on 18 October 2005 showed how Baldassarri decided to make a referee, Rodamonti, look bad with his comments during the match between AC Milan and Cagliari. Moggi had great knowledge on the workings of the media and had worked out that the best way to conceal any bias that referees showed towards Juventus. Luciano argued that on an average 50,000 might see the game in the stadium, but millions who watched the match on television had their opinions formed by men such as Baldassarri. According to investigators, Baldassarri and Moggi spoke before every program to discuss what was going to be said and shown, who was going to be given the thumbs up, and who got the thumbs down. But sports journalists are hardly the key to throwing games. For that, one needs referees. Conversations Moggi had with the head of National Referees Association, Pierluigi Peretto, clearly showed the two preferring some particular referees for Juventus games. This evidence was found courtesy a wiretap on the conversations between the two, and some of the details are pretty shocking. A conversation between the two on 11 August 2004, a day after the Old Ladies Champions League third qualifying round game, showed Moggi expressing his disapproval of the match official after he had ruled out a goal that was scored by Fabrizio Maccoli. On 23 August 2004, right before the second leg of the Djurgården game, Moggi and Peretto discussed the crucial European match. Peretto assured Moggi that Juventus will win 4-1, and they do just that. The next conversation between the two was about the possible candidates to officiate the upcoming Juventus and AC Milan fixture, where Moggi very clearly instructed Peretto to make Tiziano Pieri the match official. The referee at the game between the two Italian giants on 28 August 2004 was indeed Pieri, and Juventus won the match 1-0. There were many conversations like these that took place between the two, but Moggi wasn't the only one calling in favors. Officials at Milan, Lazio and Fiorentina were all guilty of influencing the choice of referees too. So why did the referees, who in Italy are well-paid professionals, do what they did? The answer is simple: they had no real choice. They were weak, they were ambitious, and also because they were caught up in a corrupt system. If they didn't favor Juventus, they wouldn't get picked to referee big games. If they displeased Moggi, they might lose their jobs. As a punishment, Juventus were relegated to the Italy's second division Serie B and were deducted 9 points after appealing an initial deduction of 30 points. They were also stripped of the Serie A titles they had won in the previous 2 years. Fiorentina were relegated with a 12-point deduction and missed out on their Champions League spot just like Juventus. Lazio joined them in Serie B with a 7-point penalty and were stripped of their UEFA Cup place. The fourth club to be implicated, AC Milan, escaped relegation but started their next league campaign with a 15-point handicap and were barred from playing in the Champions League. Italy, even with its history of sporting and political scandals, had never seen anything like this. 9 years after the case came into the spotlight, the Italian Supreme Court gave the final verdict on the case. Moggi was acquitted of some individual charges for sporting fraud, but not from being the promoter of the criminal conspiracy that culminated in Calciopoli. The remaining charges on him were cancelled without a new trial due to the statute of limitations. Appeals by Fiorentina owners Andrea and Diego Della Valle and Lazio president Claudio Lotito against their sentences were also rejected on the ground that their cases passed the statute of limitations. The court accepted the prosecutor's request to clear the charges of former referees Paolo Bertini, Antonio Datillo, and Gennaro Mazze, but rejected the appeals for Massimo De Santis and Salvador Raccabolto. On 9 September 2015, the Supreme Court released a 150-page document explaining its final ruling on the case. The court made it clear that Moggi's unwarranted activities incurred significant damage to Italian football, not only in a sporting sense, but also in economic terms. The scandal will forever leave a black mark in Juventus's otherwise illustrious history, but they have turned over a new leaf since then. The Bianconeri have been dominating the Serie A in the past few years, winning the league 8 times since the 2011-12 season. The reigning Italian champions had also reached the Champions League final twice, although they lost on both the occasions. Considering their impressive form in Italy and Europe in recent years, Juventus looked destined to forget the fateful affair and achieve even more sporting greatness in the years to come.